after not nearly playing for nearly a year. Yeah, that's beautiful. And stays in tune. This is... Wow, that's beautiful. That's the Brian May bridge and roll design, and headstock straight through pull. It's just perfection. And of course there were all those things. Those were the things in Alison Hill through that year. I was so in love with the whole guitar, the Brian May guitar, the sound of it, the rich sound, just how it functions so well. That's what motivated me to say, I've got to take these wonderful things to a form that Fender players can understand and feel really comfortable with. So I hope the Fender players and Gibson players will feel really comfortable with this guitar. So should we start?
Let's start.
Why don't we start with the magazine? So yeah, thank you. It's very good to see you here in Sydney, Australia. And the reason why you're here, of course, is this guitar, which has come from this gentleman, Brian May, and the work that I did for Brian in 1996-97, leading to me spending most of the year at his studio in 1998 at Alton Hill, London. And a couple of magazine articles to quickly show you. This was covered at the time by OK Magazine at the time that Brian was promoting his album Another World. And that's my guitar, Paul, that Brian is holding there. I'm very proud of that one. And at the time, of course, I was taking apart and repairing and restoring Brian's famous Red Special guitar. A few years later on, Guitar Player in the US did a wonderful article that was publicising Brian's tour with Queen plus Paul Rogers, and amongst that article, Matt Blackett very nicely did an article on the guitar restoration and my custom guitars, if I can find it. Here we are. So that was Matt Blackett's article featuring George Burns and Brian's original guitar and the restoration in 1998. So that was marvellous exposure in prominent magazines, which I was very grateful for. So then we've come to the genesis, the beginnings of this guitar in that year of 1998, when I had the great privilege of being in Brian's studio, restoring his famous Red Special guitar, working on various other projects such as guitar pedals, the Vox AC30, the DK amp research. It occurred to me several times that the guitar that I loved so much, the Red Special, I felt the need to take its wonderful innovations, its wonderful things that Brian and his father Harold had developed, out to the wider guitar playing population. I felt it'd be worthwhile to take the Red Special's great things in a form that Fender and Gibson players could understand. Having begun playing guitars on Fender and Gibson copies and played mostly Fender Stratocasters most of my guitar playing life, I understood that Brian's Red Special had some extreme limitations for Fender players, for Gibson players, for Ibanez players, and that I wanted to create a guitar that took the wonderful things that he and his father had developed and put them in a form that Fender players would feel very comfortable with. And so that began me thinking on redesigning the Red Special shape so that it would, when you have a strap, we'll demonstrate this later, it would hang really well and not be neck heavy. It would have Fender scale, the longest scale length, rather than Brian's 24-inch scale, which is very short. It would have a Fender style neck. The width, the dimensions would feel very comfortable for Fender players, and would have additional sounds capable of some very clever switching courtesy of Kazu-san, with volume knob close to the bridge like Stratocaster does, 5-way lever switch like Stratocaster, which is very functional, great for the guitar player to get easy access to sounds. So around 2005 I started drawing the shapes of the body and did many versions, stretching the shape out from the Red Special shape, trying to get those points same as Fender Stratocaster, so that when we have the strap on, it would hang well. Can we put a strap on in a minute, please, Kazu-san? Okay, so the guitar when wearing hangs really perfectly, very similar to Fender Stratocaster. It feels to me very similar how the right hand sits on the bridge and left hand playing an A chord, very similar position. So this feels to me, being a Stratocaster player, really like home, and easy to get to switch, easy to get to volume control. The tremolo system, of course, Brian and Harold's wonderful design is fantastic. Stays in tune beautifully, feels lovely. So these, and the sound of Brian's pickups, the sound combinations was something I felt was so beautiful. That was one of the motivating factors. I wanted to take the sound that I was hearing in Brian's guitar studio, in the guitar room, day after day, playing his guitar loud. I wanted to take that sound out and put it in a form where Fender players would have access to it. So that was the start of the process. So the beginning of the project, really, the thinking of it was done in 1998. In 2005, I started drawing the body shapes. I decided I would use the George Burns headstock, which was Brian May's Red Special, but slightly narrower spacing up here. I felt the George Burns headstock was the good one to use. That the Fender scale length, but 22 frets, was what the majority of Fender and Gibson players would be comfortable with. I felt also a bolt-on neck would be a good idea. I'm not opposed to glued-on necks, but the bolt-on carried some of Leo Fender's very practical decisions in the way he made his guitar. So that would be a sensible thing to go for. So from 2005 through to around 2018, I did various versions of the guitar, each time stretching and redoing the curves. I'd often place a cut-out cardboard template over against an amplifier and look at it occasionally to decide whether I thought the curves flowed and looked to my eye good. So I did many variations. I was very busy at that time with other things, and I'd come back to the guitar design every now and again, work on it a little bit more. So that took, especially around 2010, I spent quite a bit of time developing it, but it took until around 2018 to finally get the shape I thought I was happy with. Finally get these points similar to the Stratocaster. Then the project lay dormant for a few years until I began by chance discussing it with Kazu-san and Daiso-san, and developing the idea of a collaboration between us. And so that's when, in around 2023, the project started to move ahead. It was called Astronaut because, and again it was a process. In 2005 to 2008, as I began doing versions of the body drawing and thinking about the concept, I wanted a name for the project. And because I was involved a lot with Brian May and his guitar pedals and the DK amp development, it struck me that a name sort of associated with his astronomical interests might be interesting to have. There would be a connection. then when Neil Armstrong died, which I think was in 2012, all of a sudden, that's what, to begin with I called it Astrostar. That was the tentative beginning name in 2005. But then, two things happened. Neil Armstrong died, and I read a lot about him, and all of a sudden I realized, oh no, it's got to be Astronaut, in a type of homage almost. And at the same time I thought, oh yes, and my very first boat, when I first started sailing, the very first boat my dad bought me, was actually the first Astronaut of the VJ class. And that boat was bought second hand about 10 years after this Astronaut 1 was made, and name was shortened to Astron at that point, but it was the first Astronaut made by Keith Smith at Lake Macquarie. So I thought, yes, there's symmetry here. There's that has a good feeling. So from that point on, I decided that I would call the guitar the Astronaut Project. So there were many discussions, as I remember, as to whether we should have a glued-in neck or a long neck tenon, or take a leaf out of Leo Fender's book and have the detachable bolt-on neck like we've gone for. Easier to manufacture, easier to replace necks. And so we discussed many points, that being one. Also, neck materials, headstock angle, we discussed that, how much. I was very keen to reduce the headstock angle from, say, Gibson or what I think Kazusan had been making in KZ1 to around the 8 degrees, but not as shallow as the Brian May guitars, which I felt were far too shallow in the angle and caused rattling and buzzing over the nut. So there were every issue we talked about, discussed by email at great length. The body hollows, should we have a contour on the back, should we have binding on the back, the materials that the body should be made out of, the neck should be made out of, fingerboard should be made out of. Depth of binding, every issue you can think of we discussed at great length. Placement of pickups, should we have the pickups wider space, like say a fender closer to the fingerboard end, or mimicking the Brian May Red Special, adjusted for Fender 25.5-inch scale, like this scratch plate is. The switching was another. We discussed many options of switching, what we should do. I felt strongly that the 5-position lever switch was very useful, and the majority of the world's electric guitar players liked what that gave, and how easy it was to use. But then Kazu-san suggested his unique switching with this lever switch plus the toggle switch, giving series to parallel. So there were, and another important issue was the type of bridge. Do we go for the Brian May roller bridge and tremolo system, which is a wonderful, innovative system, or do we put a less expensive, say the Wilkinson system roller bridge on? So all these issues we discussed at large, and decided to use the Ron Smith system here. Yeah, so.
It's nice clean tone from Trisonic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So that's warm. That's Fender. That's great. Wow. Yeah.
Half tone.
I used to play that in 1978. since 1978. I haven't played guitar for a year, so I'm dropping my picks. That's cute. I like that. We found a sound. So where are we? I'm enjoying playing guitar again. Getting back to pickup, that is middle pickup alone.
Yeah.
Mid pickup alone, bridge pickup alone. This one, those two together. Series parallel. The fat Brian May type. Nice, the series and parallel differences, the bite. And of course then, that being the bridge pickup alone. Next point, what should we discuss now?
I think we have covered. Why don't you exchange the guitars?
Yes, great idea.
To
And the guitar, of course, balances absolutely beautifully. I guess we should say that prototype is made out of following materials: mahogany, ebony. Something about the New Guinea rose. That was just bridge pickup alone I played in that guitar. This is the same. Bit more drive and kick to the sound, but it's also got a nice sweetness. It's not too sharp and raspy.
bridge pickup only?
That is no, those two together,
Oh, that's
but
it.
it's a parallel.
Parallel.
Yeah, so very Fender.
Yeah.
And hum cancelling. That's so useful. Beautiful to play. Really lovely sounds, just flicking back and forth with the series parallel. Goodness me. So that's just those two together, either in series like the Brian May sound or parallel. Both hum cancelling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. I guess one thing we didn't mention was the F-hole.
Yes.
Of course, discussion of do we have the F-hole, do we not, what difference to the sound of the instrument might it make, what difference to the look of the instrument might it make. So that was one of many things discussed.
Right.
So yeah, that's a great sound, man. This is a good guitar. I have to agree. As soon as I plugged it in and played the same bridge pickup alone, I went, oh, that's something different.
Right.
It's I could hear it.
Yeah.
And
So,
you,
but that's beautiful. Playing that's so nice to play and lovely sounds. But yeah, I'll need to play it more. But I really like what this pickup spacing is giving to the sound in the variety.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Wow, and it just looks beautiful.
Yes.
But the F hole is really lovely. That's lovely work, very good, and that just looks great. And of course, similar to Brian's original plans, he drew up with his father, but never produced the F hole later on with the guitar. Similar to Fender Thin Line that has F hole as well. Other guitars we know that just give a really sophisticated, charming look. Yeah. And wow, that's a mighty guitar, Kz. Fantastic.
Can you show the combination of middle and the front to show the
Yeah.
how warm they are?
Great idea. Yeah. loves to play guitar again after not nearly playing for nearly a year. Yeah, that's beautiful and stays in tune. This is, wow, that's the Brian May bridge and roll design and headstock straight through pull. It's just perfection. And of course there were all those things. Those were the things in Allison Hill through that year. I was so in love with the whole guitar, the Brian May guitar, the sound of it, the rich sound, just how it functions so well. That's what motivated me to say, I've got to take these wonderful things to a form that Fender players can understand and feel really comfortable with. So I hope the Fender players and Gibson players will feel really comfortable with this guitar. Because someone might say, well, what was wrong with the guitar, Brian May guitar then? Why are you saying Fender players wouldn't feel comfortable? Is it worthwhile, but perhaps later, pointing out you wouldn't realise that Brian's guitar has so much difficulty for a Fender player, weird switches, small scale, possibly thick neck, weird width. Yes, so always sounds in series, needing treble booster always. So there's about 5 or 6 things that the reason why Fender players give up on a Red Special.
Yeah, nice clean sound.
Oh, it's
clean
lovely.
Sound is very lovely.
And that's in series, just with the vol roll back.